attacks by UFOs.
I've been attacked twice now, yeah, absolutely.
So, and would those attacks be from those that you have?
No, that's where we get the signal from noise element.
Okay,
so
let's
what happened?
explore that.
Yeah, so what would happen is you'd get a scenario where it's quite interesting is the world of the paranormal and UFOs, because people will sit there and film a UFO. I did. I became dangerously obsessed with filming them, frankly, and I, at one point in the proceedings, in all my strange goings on, I was told, do not go out alone at night and film them on your own. This is what I was told. Don't do that. But I didn't heed that warning, and I went out on this particular evening, and I hear me. And I went out on this particular evening, and the camcorder wasn't working correctly. It just wasn't working correctly, and I remember seeing this UFO turn up, this ball of light UFO. You go on my YouTube channel, there's bloody balls of light UFO. I get sick of filming them. It's a very that is the point. These balls of light UFOs have been around us for centuries. They're not visiting aliens from another planet. They're more crypto-terrestrial, been around us for a very long time. And I had my suspicions at the time, before I'd explored what was going on in 1950 with America and the Collins Elite and all that kind of thing. I had my suspicions that these objects were Nazi in origin and from Antarctica, because there is a memo that was circulated during the time of Roswell, which indicated that there was a possibility that they were dealing with a nation, as in the Fourth Reich. They were dealing with a nation that was an off-world state, not an off-world state, but a state that was not acknowledged but existed. To this day, that's possibly a possibility, which is why UFOs are bugging the bloody hell out of everyone, because there's a possibility that the Nazi element to them does still exist to this day. But this particular evening, I'd gone out. I was told not to film them on my own, and I went out, and the UFO turned up, and I remember the thing. It must have been about 1,000 feet up, and it just hovered at a distance of about 500 yards, looking at me. It's like gunfight at the OK Corral. You're looking at it, it's looking at you. It's just a ball of light in the air. And it's just looking at you.
What size was it?
Like a football.
Right. Yeah.
And it's hovering, and it's watching you, and you're watching it, and it's not pleasant. It's not nice. And I was thinking, I'm gonna cop it here. It's gonna zap. It's gonna do something, and it did. It assaulted me, and flew off. And
what did it do? What was the assault?
We won't go into that. Okay. But it did do, and more fool me. But it made me, every time these incidents happened, more and more the noise level. It's all noise. All these UFO attacks and all the negativity, noise. Because really, the clean signal is out there. If we just look, if we just look as a race of people,
the truth of the
message. The truth of the message is there. But all this, it's all this noise, and then getting through the that's it. And then the second incident occurred when I was coming back from my night shift. What
sort of distance between these events, time-wise?
3 years, something like that. There is actually a clip which I'm sure of a slow-moving UFO, which I did, which I'm sure you'll use on the and that's actually one of them that actually attacked me, and it's very menacingly moving around my garden, and it's slow moving, soundless, and it's just watching. Because obviously humanity is behind the scenes ruled by something. There's something moving behind the scenes that we don't understand. And so I'm coming back from night shift, and all of a sudden this bloody thing appears from nowhere over the rooftops, nearly knocks me to the bloody ground, and it's like all your head's vibrating with it here. Your skull vibrates, and you're thinking they push it a bit further, you're going to be a goner. But they didn't. They always keep.
Was there any
back
sound?
No. There's never any sound. But what I discovered after very close observation of standing outside for numerous nights filming them, was that these balls of light were of a particular type of UFO, and every time they were turning up, they weren't turning up over my house to communicate the message and all this kind of thing. That's what they were there for. They were wanting to observe the UFOs. What you're looking at is something. It's been around us for a very long time, and I observed that they were wanting to observe what I was filming as well. So they were, whatever it was. Exactly. And the other scenario that occurred was I saw a different type of UFO, like something out of The Abyss, for example. The film The Abyss, where they've got the Illuminous chasing them off. And I've seen that on a couple of occasions. So it's quite obvious that there's something going on behind the scenes in the affairs of human beings that we are not aware of. A very big game is being played, and we're not aware.
Why do you think you're attacked?
If you have the power of intention and the power of mastery, you're a player. You're a
Right.
very big player.
So you can affect.
You can
the
affect.
material
Yes.
and
Yeah.
unmaterial
Yeah.
world.
Yeah.
Let's
Yeah.
say.
Yeah.
And they find that threatening.
Without being grandiose, yeah.
Right.
They find they would find that they would. I mean, as I say, I'm a shattered man from it now. I mean,
How did those attacks impact you, health-wise?
mentally you're traumatized. You're suffering post-traumatic stress disorder, or you're kind of like you're
What was
traumatized.
the instant, immediate effect? Were you knocked to the ground? Were you just dazed? Were you, how did it manifest in you?
It's like a slow volume. It's like somebody with if a volume level was a trauma thing. It's like somebody subtly increasing the volume.
Right.
So it wouldn't be it wouldn't be on the day it happened. It would be a week later or 4 days later, where the full shock would hit you.
So like a delayed shock
Yeah,
situation.
all the time. It always has been. It's
Right.
always been a delayed shock. You don't realise what's happened until it's happened, until a few days later.
And
you know?
how did it impact? So mentally, I can appreciate there's a sense of trauma. I don't know how else you might want to express that.
It's a shattered mind. You carry a shattered mind, an
Yeah.
exhausted mind. It's an exhaustion.
You're right.
Where
Exhaustion is-
it's an exhaustion where you're continually exposed. It's an exhaustion that you cannot put into words.
And what about physically? How were you
Physically, you're also exhausted, but it gets to the point. Physically, you're okay, but mentally, you're shattered.
Right, okay.
You know, absolutely, and anybody would be exposed to.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
But I
exposed
know
to
some
one.
people have had, physical trauma as a result
Yeah.
of their
Yeah,
interactions.
some people have.
So,
I mean,
so at least that though on those occasions, those two attacks didn't impact you on a physical level.
not on a
but-
physical. They were
but
designed
yes.
to impact me mentally.
Yes,
Which can be
yes.
far more
Sort of-
perhaps
oh, no,
brutal, can't
absolutely.
it? Than you
No,
know.
it was whether it was both or one or
Yeah.
the other.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just trying to get a handle
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
how
And
it
it's
is
a-
sort of.
It's a lot of
anchors
information,
into-
isn't it? But
it is.
that I'm coming
It is.
out with. But
Yeah.
people need to separate the signal from the noise.
Yeah.
They need to realise this.
What did you take